A year or two ago, an unexpected phone call came from the Welsh BBC after the death of Billy Graham, wanting some Catholic input there in Welsh on the great evangelist. I've often thought how actually someone of that nature did have an effect on thousands and thousands of souls, and was actually a model also for some of us way back as we grow up. Why? Being on fire for Jesus, using the maximum of potentiality in the Word. The gospel of this day reminded me of that in a big way. One of the favourite sermons that he would have would be on this very gospel. What does it profit a man if he gain the whole world and loses his own soul? Now, years later, called quite often actually to be next to somebody who is about to die or even has just died because of the proximity to several nursing homes, and they have my number. One sees how the bottom line is that, saving one's soul. Many things can be put on a back burner when this issue comes to the fore. Actually, just the other day, because several calls came fairly close to each other, I was able to see how at the end of life one is calmly or not so calmly reaping the consequences of life. It's too simplistic to say that we can sort everything out at the end. Why? One can see that the tendency is for the soul at the end to carry on as it's used to being, yes or no to grace. And sometimes one sees great serenity and great peace, and after giving the final sacraments, one can just kiss the forehead of the person who's about to go and say, "Safe journey home," and the family is consoled. But there are other occasions when quite the opposite happens, and when a person, still lucid enough to know slightly what might be going on, can react very badly, and there one detects, when there is an abhorrence to the sacred, blasphemy and swearing, violent reactions, and all that goes with that probably it is the natural consequence of a certain type of life. God has been pushed back. Other things have been centre stage. And when the one issue that matters is standing before our eyes, habit has been taken, and the last steps tend to be similar to the first. It's dangerous, therefore, to get into a pushing off mode when it comes to the Holy Spirit. And maybe this is that fundamental sin against the Holy Spirit of which the Lord is speaking. He can't get through. He just can't get through. I had a friend in student days who was also a nurse, and her mother was matron of a nursing home, and she was a great help to her. And she would be very experienced in passing whole nights awake while the clients were asleep, and also keeping watch beside those who were passing on. And she said to me, I hand them over to God. I hand them on to God. Mine is the last face they see. And so they open their eyes on other vistas after they've gone out of reach. But she would have experience of what happens at the moment of death. There are certain patterns. But one time she came out with this, and I quote it. A woman died last night, and she told me exactly what happened. Her name was Lena. She was deaf and dumb and blind by the end. She had one close friend, her cousin. She sat up suddenly after he had died, even though she had no means of knowing of the death. She made as if to talk to someone, and her eyes were gazing in one direction. The only one who, though out of reach, mattered to her, must have come for her. She followed him that night. I was quite moved, actually, by this, because the frontier is very thin at those last moments. Many are the cases of those who open their eyes just before passing on, and we're not quite sure what they're seeing. It's a mystery. Maybe angels, our Blessed Lady, the saints, family members, are coming for them, but they are, as it were, in the departure lounge and just about to take off. Maria Simba speaks of that moment and of the moments that follow, and indicates that actually, for a very, very short time, all is in the balance. It seems that a final choice may be given at that point. We're not quite sure. They're out of reach for us, but the Lord is trying his level best to get through to them with one last grace. The only thing is that, once again, the tendency is that they carry on as they have taken the habit of being before. So a yes or a no will tendentially carry on in the same vein. I was so moved by that little account that I sat down and wrote this, which I quote just as it came from the pen. A lady died last night. A little child of God that made no noise and heard no sound across cemented ears. For one short hour held two dimmed eyes in poise, wide open with blind gaze. The tunneled ears that passed the holy by had one small light that no one else would see, for 'twas thine own. And thy hid world of feeling had its sight that ne'er was known, for ne'er could it be shown. But in this hour, dumb sister, something stirred within thy sealed soul, and something moved before thy seeing eyes. Something was heard, for e'en we heard its echo. One night proved the truth that had no voice. Thine only friend, who came no more, came once more at the end. yesterday we were placing the ashes on the foreheads of many people. Those ancient words, remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return, reminds us of what is heard actually quite often still at funerals as one is covering the body with earth. Dust unto dust, ashes unto ashes. And one sees the one common denominator of humankind in that ancient ceremony. All those foreheads, they all conceal a life and a history, whether they're little children, as many of them were, or elderly people closer to the finishing line. It's all the same, for death is the great equalizer, and we're all homeward bound. The only thing that home must be the right home, and all the rest can wait. Lent is a time to realize that the back burner is the safest place for many, an immediate cause. The big cause is salvation, and on that, the fiery Billy Graham was right. What will it gain a man if he gain the whole world and lose his own soul? One day I heard of what happened in La Trappe. I believe it was a Trappist monastery. It could have been a Carthusian, but it certainly happened. It happened in France. And I remember being so moved that I saw the power there of a word, and also of the realization of this fundamental truth. Our bottom line, dust unto dust, ashes unto ashes, and how a word can actually orientate towards a safe landing, as unfortunately it can, to some other landing. It was what happened way back in one of the great salons, presumably of Paris, where young men and women were dancing together. Well, this couple, or sort of couple at the time, were dancing, and in an interlude between the dances they sat down. And as would have been the custom in Paris at the time, this young lady pulled out her powder box and started to remake her beauty. But what was his surprise when, before she started to put some of the powder on her face, she blew into her powder box and blew into his face with these words: Souviens-toi, ô homme, que tu es poussière, qu'à la poussière tu retourneras. Remember, O man, that you are dust, and unto dust you shall return. What on earth hit him at that moment, we're not quite sure. The man eventually got up, went outside, looked at the stars, presumably, and with this tormenting voice inside him, couldn't bear the echo of this ancient, all-powerful word. It was just too much for him. She had only meant it as a plaisanterie, a joke, but the Holy Spirit made use of it for something else. Not long afterwards, he knocked at the door of La Trappe. He was admitted and persevered until death. Grace can come out of anywhere, but it is rare that it comes out of a powder box. A word change all eternity, and a word can save a soul. Histoire vraie. Jeune homme, que tu dansais bien, ton jeune cœur battait si fort, quand, serrant ce céleste lien, l'amour rapprochait beau d'accord. Pays de rêve et de couleurs, ton avenir s'annonçait beau. Tu sentais déjà sa douceur en palpant cette tendre peau. La douce extase de l'amour t'emportait vers des cieux nouveaux. Le paradis, et pour toujours, ce sera beau, si beau, si beau. Ô poudrier, tu savais peu la force de ta suavité. Ce parfum qui s'emparait d'eux décidait leur éternité. Plaisanterie qui coûta cher. C'est quelques grains de vérité, c'est quelques grains de vanité que son haleine envoie en l'air, retombe lourd de vérité. Poussière, homme, souviens-toi, tu étais et tu redeviens. Écho lointain de cette voix qui sait résonner chez les siens. Ô poudrier, la grâce est sortie de tes grains. Un demi-tour, ces souliers qui dansaient iront danser loin. La trappe accueille qui te vient, envoyé par un poudrier. Jeune homme, non, il redevient ce qu'il eût voulu.